Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. Now, folks, I don't know what y'all did to upset the universe this week, but apparently we spun the global chaos wheel, and it landed on all of it. We got war in the Middle East, a federal shutdown at home, Wall Street having an emotional breakdown over robots, a snowstorm punching the East Coast in the face, and the Pentagon arguing with Silicon Valley like it's Thanksgiving dinner, but everybody brought nukes. This ain't just a busy week. This is the kind of week historians circle with a red marker and go, "Yep, that's when it got spicy." So grab your coffee, secure your lawn furniture, and maybe duct tape your 401k to something sturdy, because we are diving headfirst into the most unhinged 7 days America's had since last month. Segment 1. Operation Epic Fury and the Strait of Uh-Oh. All right. Let's start overseas where things escalated faster than a Facebook argument about gas stoves. The United States and Israel launched what they're calling Operation Epic Fury. Now, I don't know who names these things, but it sounds less like a military campaign and more like a professional wrestling pay-per-view. But make no mistake, this was massive. Hundreds of airstrikes, major Iranian cities targeted, top leadership eliminated, the supreme leader gone, senior commanders gone. This wasn't a warning shot. This was a statement. And Iran said, "Oh, we got statements too." Drones, ballistic missiles, strikes across the region. U.S. bases targeted, Israel targeted. UAE airports hit. And then the Strait of Hormuz, that tiny little choke point where about 20% of the world's oil squeezes through like sweet tea through a cracked straw, basically shut down. Now, when you mess with the Strait of Hormuz, you're not just fighting a war. You're fighting everybody's gas tank. Oil markets jumped like they stepped on a Lego. Tankers got hit. Global shipping sweating. And Congress? Congress is yelling about the war powers resolution, like they just found out somebody borrowed their truck without asking. Some lawmakers say this is decisive leadership. Others say it's an unauthorized war. Meanwhile, I'm just watching gas prices rise in real time like it's a telethon, and I'm the donation. And here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Once you decapitate leadership in a region like that, you don't get a neat ending. You get a vacuum, and vacuums don't stay empty. They get filled, usually by something louder. Segment 2. DHS Shutdown Meets Bomb Cyclone from Hades. Now, while we're running air campaigns overseas, back home the Department of Homeland Security has been partially shut down long enough to grow a beard. Funding lapsed, partisan gridlock, immigration fight, body camera demands, border enforcement arguments. And FEMA? FEMA had to halt non-disaster operations to conserve funds. And then, like clockwork, Mother Nature rolled in with a bomb cyclone. 1 to 2 feet of snow from D.C. to Boston, 70-mile-an-hour winds, coastal flooding, over 600,000 people without power, 11,000 flights canceled, driving bans, states of emergency declared up and down the East Coast, and FEMA's sitting there like, well, technically this is a disaster, but we're operating on fumes. You ever try to salt your driveway during a blizzard while arguing about the salt budget? That's what this feels like at the federal level. And here's the dangerous part. Disaster response depends on staging resources before impact. You don't wait until the snow hits to find the shovel. But when funding freezes, preparation freezes. So states were basically freelancing a nor'easter. Meanwhile, out west, atmospheric river, flooding, landslides. So both coasts are getting wrecked at the same time, and Washington's arguing about line items. Segment 3. AI panic, Halo trade, and the robot resume apocalypse. Let's talk about Wall Street, because the stock market looked at all this and said, you know what we need? Existential dread. A major research report modeled a scenario where AI wipes out white-collar jobs, accounting, legal work, software engineering, marketing, replaced by autonomous agents that don't need sleep, health insurance, or a coffee break. And investors reacted like somebody yelled, .com flashback. The S&P 500 CAPE ratio is sitting above 40. That's early 2000 territory. Historically, that means future returns look like a diet version of disappointment. Tech stocks wobbled. Knowledge sector names took hits. Meanwhile, capital rotated into what they're calling the halo trade: heavy assets, low obsolescence, pipelines, grids, heavy machinery, stuff you can drop on your foot. Because here's what investors figured out. AI might replace your email job. It cannot replace a backhoe. And the irony? Some analysts say AI hasn't even boosted actual economic growth yet, so we might be panicking about robots taking our jobs before the robots even figure out how to expense mileage. But the fear is real. If AI replaces high earners, who buys the products? You can't have infinite productivity and zero consumers. That's not capitalism. That's a vending machine with no customers. Segment 4. Pentagon versus Anthropic and the laser oops. While Wall Street panics about AI, the Pentagon said, cool, we'll take it. A major AI firm refused to allow its software to be used for lethal autonomous weapons or domestic surveillance. The Defense Department responded by labeling it a supply chain risk and hinting at invoking the Defense Production Act. That's the legal equivalent of saying, that's a nice algorithm you got there. Be a shame if it became federal property. This is a huge moment. Because once you treat AI models like strategic infrastructure, like oil reserves or steel plants, the relationship between Silicon Valley and Washington changes forever. And just to prove we're all ready for autonomous systems, the U.S. military accidentally shot down a Customs and Border Protection drone with a laser near Texas. Friendly fire, against ourselves, with a laser. We are now living in a world where one federal agency zaps another agency's robot because nobody synced calendars. If that doesn't make you confident about drone warfare coordination, I don't know what will. Segment 5. Border politics, Medicaid cuts, and federal leverage. Immigration remains the political volcano everything's orbiting around. President Donald Trump hosted angel families, signed a proclamation for National Angel Family Day, and doubled down on border enforcement messaging. The administration claims encounters are down dramatically. Deportations are up. Releases are nearly eliminated. Supporters call it restored order. Critics point to projected Medicaid cuts tied to broader legislative changes. Hundreds of billions in state-level impacts over a decade. Millions potentially losing coverage due to eligibility shifts and work requirements. And then you've got federal funding leverage. States like Minnesota facing Medicaid payment deferrals pending corrective action plans. That's not just policy. That's pressure. We're watching immigration enforcement, healthcare funding, and federal-state power struggles all braided together tighter than extension cords behind a television from 1998. Segment 6. Coffee, cancer switches, and methane to medicine. Now, before you move to a cabin in Montana, let's talk science. Researchers mapped nearly 7 million human cells to understand aging. Turns out aging is coordinated across the body, not just your knees deciding to file a complaint. Scientists also engineered a CRISPR system activated by caffeine. That means one day your morning coffee could activate targeted cancer-fighting cells. Finally, preventative medicine that runs on espresso. And chemists developed iron-based catalysts that convert methane into pharmaceutical ingredients using LED light. So instead of flaring greenhouse gas into the sky, we might turn it into medicine. That's like turning tailpipe exhaust into antibiotics. So yes, missiles are flying. Snow is falling. Markets are shaking. Congress is arguing. Lasers are misfiring. But somewhere in a lab, somebody is weaponizing coffee for cancer therapy. In conclusion, this week proved one thing. We are living in a world where geopolitics, economics, weather, artificial intelligence, and caffeine are all colliding at once. It's chaotic, it's historic, it's exhausting, but it's also weirdly impressive. If we can survive bomb cyclones, algorithm panic, laser mishaps, and global oil choke points in the same 7-day stretch, we can probably survive whatever next week cooks up. Just keep your coffee strong, your snow shovel handy, and maybe label your drones clearly. That's the news. Poorly educated, slightly overwhelmed, and fully caffeinated.